The Golden State Warriors are getting closer and closer to securing a top 6 seed. But what really matters is this.
Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, what's the latest that you can tell us on Andrew Wiggins, who's missed the last 22 games here?
Yeah, Malika, it's significant news for this Golden State organization, their playoff aspirations. Andrew Wiggins is returning to the Warriors this week.
With Andrew Wiggins set to return, it means that the Warriors are finally healthy, and I want everyone to play a quick game. In this game, you have to guess which team has the best starting lineup in the NBA when fully healthy. Is it the 55-25 Boston Celtics? No, it's not quite the Celtics. How about the number 1 seeded Nuggets or the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks? Two very dominant lineups, but again, not quite. Which leaves us with the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, despite barely being above 500 all season, when the Warriors starters are healthy, they are still better than anyone in the league statistically. But I don't want to focus on the starters yet. What makes this Warriors team more dangerous now than they were before is the bench has figured things out. Allow me to introduce you to the Disruption Bros. Right here is a glimpse of what they can do. Here's GP2 forcing his man towards the help. He then is forced to kick it out, and Dante is there to read it and then time the jump on the Jeng pass before finding GP2 in transition for the easy bucket. Or how about these two plays, where Dante and GP2 show everyone that you can't just casually bring the ball up the floor against them because your pocket will be picked and a bucket will be the result. But why am I focusing on these two in particular? Well, this is what makes the Dubs bench so great. It's the variety. In DiVincenzo and GP2, you have two great defenders that have complementary offensive skill sets. The same thing could be said for Kuminga, and then you have the most talented sixth man in the NBA ready to carry the offensive load. And for anyone questioning if Jordan Poole is the most talented bench player in the league, don't question it. And if you need convincing, this stat might do it. Over the last 6 games, Poole hasn't just been averaging an efficient 26 points, with 5 of those games coming off the bench, but he's been taking over games in the fourth quarter. Over the last 6 fourth quarters, Poole has scored 67 points. 67 on great efficiency, and is a plus 60 in those 6 quarters. A lot of sixes. I want you guys to watch this. With the Thunder up by 1 and 8 minutes left, Looney sets a screen for Poole, and with no hesitation, JP takes that little bit of space and hits the 3. So the very next possession, Draymond sets a screen in the same spot. And watch what Poole does. He recognizes the Thunder defender is way up at the 3-point line to prevent another 3, so he hits a nasty crossover to fake the defense out before driving downhill and attacking the rim. These are just 2 examples, but over the last 2 weeks, Poole has found a way to combine his speed and explosiveness with smart decisions that involve manipulating the defense. And that's a game changer for the Warriors, particularly when Steph is off the floor. But it's not just JP who has been stepping up in the fourth quarter recently. I'm not talking about Steph, who's one of the top fourth quarter performers in the league, though we will talk about him a little bit later. Another fourth quarter king does it on the other end of the floor. There's over 5 minutes left in the game with the Warriors up 6, so Draymond decides to do Draymond things. It starts with Dante doing what he does best and pressuring Jalen Williams. Dre helps over to force the pass, before then somehow poking the ball from Dort. They recover the ball and it ends up with Shea. Dre then forces another pass out before then contesting the shot at the rim, grabbing the rebound, and well, it ends in a Dante bucket. Who else is causing that many issues on one possession? But it doesn't stop there. 3 minutes left with the Warriors up 11. If that seems like a safe lead, you haven't watched the Warriors this year. So Draymond decides to make that lead safe. Here he is pressing Isaiah Joe. And let me slow this right down. The moment Joe goes to the crossover, Dre picks his pocket mid-crossover and gets the steal. Just absurd anticipation, which leads to a Jordan Poole bucket that sealed the game. And then 40 seconds later, after the game had already been secured, Draymond decides he'll just pick the rookie's pocket and get himself an easy bucket because he can do that. There's a lot of people that don't think Draymond is still the best defender in the league, but when he needs to turn it on, he is still that guy. And speaking of defense, we should talk about the reason people think the Dubs can go back to back. It's the return of Andrew Wiggins. And we don't have to look any further than the conference finals and NBA finals from last year's playoffs to prove how elite Wiggins is defensively. Not only did he force Luka into frequent turnovers, but Jason Tatum still has nightmares about that matchup. And this is important because, well, if you haven't heard, there's a few pretty good wings in the West. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of examples of Wiggins guarding those guys because they haven't played a ton, but when they have, Wiggs has had his fair share of stops. It's not just his defense either, but offensively, he brings a completely different dynamic to the Warriors team. Not only has Wiggs gone from one of the worst volume three-point shooters in the NBA to shooting close to 40% 3 straight seasons, but let's not forget, he was the #1 pick for a reason.
Snaps it outside to Wiggins. Goes by Poole. Oh! Drops the sledgehammer. Wiggins drives and finishes. Exclamation point. Ball movement leads to Poole on a kick. Wiggins still looking for his first field goal. Wiggins on the rack attack.
And it's so much more than just being able to post to people. Watch this play. Clay comes off a screen before drawing the help and kicking it out to Wiggs. He then utilizes his three-point threat to fake out Williams before crossing over Brown and absolutely bodying Al Horford at the rim. He's also capable of taking players off the dribble and knocking down shots in the mid-range if the offense is stagnant, which culminated in 26 points during Game 5 of the NBA Finals and being the best player on the floor during that game. That is why the Warriors have desperately needed him back, and it's great to see him back and in good spirits. But did you really think I wasn't going to mention Steph Curry at all? With the season on the line, Steph has helped drag the Dubs to victories in 3 of the last 4 games, and that's without getting much help from the refs. But you know what they say, if the refs aren't going to give you a fair whistle, just do this.
Put Jalen Williams on Steph, quick 3. Curry hides behind Looney, traps in another one.
I know we are somehow used to it, but we shouldn't take for granted the fact Steph Curry is shooting 45% on pull-up three-point shots. Just to put this into perspective, 6 players in the NBA, not including Steph, take more than 5 pull-up threes a game. Between those 6 players, they're shooting an average of 37%. Steph is at 45. Steph Curry is so much more than a shooter, but we will never see a shooter like him again, and he continues to dominate teams with that aspect of the game. Anyways, if you did make it all the way to the end of the video, a like would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel for more. Have a great day. Bye.